Wait for it. Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blaze podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans, a Stabby Chaos Coordinator, and she's here today!
Woo!
And Chief Shenanigator, geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guests introduce themselves. And since most of the hosts outnumber the guests today, we're just going to introduce everyone. And we're going to start with Miss Jana S. Brown, who sometimes cosplays as Jenna Ray.
Oh, I sometimes cosplay as a lot of things, but I am Jana S. Brown. I'm the Chief Shenanigator here on the podcast. It's kind of like being a den mother and a cat herder all at the same time, so it's a perfect job for me. I write under the pen name Jenna Ray. I also write under Jana S. Brown and other things we won't talk about, but under Jenna Ray, I write science fiction, fantasy, urban fantasy, and anything else that the mind weasels demand.
What? Not squirrels? Not mind squirrels? They're weasels now?
Well, they were squirrels at one point, but the squirrels got a little bit rabid and things started changing, and now we're the weasels.
Because they're not as feral?
They're no more feral. Are you kidding me? You seen a weasel versus a squirrel? Are you kidding?
I mean, I know there's a size differential, but personality-wise, I know nothing about...
No, weasels are much more feral than squirrels are.
The only thing I know about weasels is pop goes the weasels, and you got to hit them.
Yeah, there's a reason you want to hit them, because weasels are fierce. Weasels are mean little cusses.
Okay. Clearly, I am not out in nature enough.
Apparently.
Next, we have Mr. Jason Hunt of the SciFi4Me media empire.
Yes, hi. How are you doing? Thanks for having me. Yes, I am the editor, executive producer at SciFi4Me.com and SciFi4Me TV. We do movie reviews, TV reviews, discussion of various different pop culture entertainment news related to science fiction, fantasy, horror, video games, tabletop. So we've got our fingers in a few different pies at the moment, but not as big of an empire as we used to be, I think.
So all of the speculative fiction awesomeness, you do it.
Yes.
Because why commit to just one? And obviously, I am J.R. Handley, veteran author, teller of tales, teller of lies, and sometimes I write words, but I'm writing more of them now because Jana is mean to me and she threatens to come and beat me up.
That's right.
All right, next we have Mr. JT Arralle, because he's like a railgun, but cooler.
Hey, I'm JT Arralle. I write military science fiction, regular science fiction, science fantasy, horror, all of it. Sometimes I blend it all. And much like Jana, I cosplay as well, only my subject is as a successful author.
Oh, okay. So I added
Nice.
the A at the end of your name, your last name, because I thought you wanted to be a little more Canadian. Because it's getting cold and you've got the lumberjack beard, so I just thought we'd go with it.
That works.
I mean, if you don't want to be Canadian, I will take away your maple syrup and we will just move on.
You can have
Oh,
it.
yeah, better move on anyway.
All right. Next we have Nick Garber, the one, the only, the legendary comic book phenom.
Well, I don't think I need to. You've already introduced me. That was pretty good. Yeah, I'm Nick Garber. I'm the president and founder of Apogee Comics. I'm also an artist. I draw comic books and occasionally I write some things for JR.
And he is a what do you call someone who makes STL like CAD files? A graphic engineer. There we go. We're going to use graphic engineer. I don't know if
We're
that's
just
a
going to
real
call it graphic designer, which is what I went to school for. And
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Use it.
And we got to see the prototypes the admin for the podcast did that will soon be coming to the Apogee Comics website. Nick, your background is making it kind of funny.
That's crazy.
Here, see if you could show it again,
Do it
Luke.
again. See, they're cool.
They are cool, and they're color coded. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really. All right, and next we have Nick Garber's co-pilot, the one, the only, the legendary Madam Stabby Stab, who soon shall have a new name.
Still in development.
No,
Nope, I sure have not, because I had a pen name that I used in high school, but when I looked it up to verify that it was still safe to use, it was no longer safe to use because the current person using that pen name is writing children's books, and mine definitely will not be.
So you can go with Mary Poppins and confuse the heck out of everybody.
Really.
No.
So I'm glad I looked into it before I actually just used my old pen name, because I definitely don't want to put my dark romance books up for sale and have them finding children's books. So
That's fair. I was joking. Obviously, don't use Mary Poppins. They'll probably sue you anyway if you tried.
no. So
But all right. So,
hopefully at some point we will, I'll continue on with my book journey. Right now I'm dealing with some medical stuff, but hopefully when I look at the screen, it doesn't continue to spin all the time. And then I can get back to writing. But right now, little hiatus just to get my medical stuff under control. But I'm still cooking, so that's good.
but are you cooking with Crisco?
No, beef tallow.
Oh, much better.
Always.
Yes, but now you're cooking with Crisco was a catchphrase from the 80s and 90s. So
Yep.
I don't know if I've ever actually used Crisco, but I knew the expression.
I don't like the smell of it. I think Crisco has a chemically smell.
Well, it was designed to be substitute candle wax.
Yeah, I like beef tallow. It smells better.
I'm not totally sure what that is, but I will smile and nod.
Beef fat.
It's beef fat.
Rendered beef fat.
Okay. All right. So as usual, we somehow ended up on the food cast instead of the sci-fi shenanigans or the blasters and blades. Any one of our previous podcasts inevitably become the food cast because, well, we like to eat. All right. So now to the religion question. So given that the topic is all of the craze for the reboots that's going on in the media right now, what series would you like to see never get a reboot that you would not want them to mess up? And we're going to start with you, Jana.
Oh, so you can't do that because I'm looking at I totally stole Nick's login, and so now I was looking through his banners because he said he had a banner for this. But you know something? He has like 70 million banners in here
because he had the power.
It's all of them, and it's awesome. And one of these days,
and I abused it every episode too.
Right now, it's pretty darn fun. And I'm like, and this is it, and this is it, and I like them all. So things that I would never want them to reboot. I read that backwards because I was thinking, things that I wanted rebooted. Things I would never want them to reboot. I am done with the reboots of the Lord of the Rings. I love the property. I like what Peter Jackson did to it. And every time they start sniffing around going, we're going to do it yet again. And that's another one of those ones that's in the wind as being a possibility. It makes me sad because I was not overly thrilled with where Rings of Power ended up going. And at a certain point, you're rebooting it for a money grab instead of rebooting it because you can do it better. And so I don't know that I really want to see the Lord of the Rings rebooted yet again.
Okay. All right. What about you? We're just going to go around robin. Stabby.
Something I don't want to see rebooted. One is not being rebooted. Hopefully it never does. And one I think is getting a reboot, and I'm really kind of irritated about it. But I never want to see I Dream of Jeannie get rebooted. Oh. I think they had the perfect cast. They had the perfect comedic timing. I do not want to see that be rebooted. The other one is Harry Potter. Once again, they had the perfect cast. Everybody was perfect from the book into the cast that they had originally chosen. I don't think a reboot's going to do anything but, like Jana said, be a money grab. So.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. What about you, Jason? What do you want them never to touch?
I would like for them to stop trying to reboot Battlestar Galactica because they've done it now once, and 2 more times are completely unnecessary. And I think maybe we leave Knight Rider alone, although I don't think I'm going to get my wish on that front.
I liked Knight Rider, so I mean, I don't know. I got mixed feelings on that one. We'll discuss that if it comes up. All right, Nick.
Things I don't want to see rebooted ever again. Nightmare on Elm Street. Just leave it alone. Just stop.
Okay, fair.
What else? Leave my Star Wars alone. What else? After this third Dune movie, never touch it again.
Okay. JT?
All right, so I've got a few, but one of them into Saturday morning cartoons. I really don't want to see them reboot Thundercats.
Mm-hmm.
No.
The original was fantastic, and it's a cherished part of my childhood.
They did, and it was horrible.
Yeah. And then one I don't think that they've rebooted is V. I think they did one.
They did one extra version of it,
and it was okay. But the miniseries was fantastic, especially for the time that it came out.
Yeah.
And then
the series, not so much.
Agreed.
Yeah.
The first one.
Okay.
So those are the strong ones.
I guess for me, like I'm willing to give properties a chance. I like reboots that were universally hated. Like I like the Battlestar Galactica reboot. I like the original too. I can just accept that they're different properties. But Silver Surfer, that's just such a nostalgic cartoon for me that I watched as a kid that I'd be afraid they'd ruin my childhood. Everything else that I could think of that I watched, like G.I. Joe, I mean, they pretty much kept that going. So it's the mystique from that one would be gone. He-Man, it's been rebooted so many times. What's one more? But Silver Surfer, they still haven't touched. Ooh, what's the one with Inspector Gadget? I'm sure they could mess that one up too. And that was also my sister and I, when we couldn't decide if we were watching G.I. Joe or Tinkerbell or the Peter Pan cartoon, we always set it on Inspector Gadget. So there you go.
They made a movie to ruin the cartoon for me.
They made
Really?
2 movies. Yeah, because Matthew Broderick was in one, and then French Stewart took over.
Oh,
But
I never saw that.
I want to say that they're doing another reboot. I would have to look though.
okay. All right. So next to the most important of all the important questions for the Blasters and Blades podcast, because we are civilized human beings here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. We are no longer knuckle dragging troglodytes. So coffee or tea, and how do you take it when you're watching a reboot, Jana?
Oh, neither. So Utah's in the middle of a heat wave right now, which is really, really stupid for March. Where it's going to be water problems everywhere. Don't get the farmers started. But it means that it's really, really hot. So right now I am all over the lemonade with lots and lots of ice in it and real lemons and all the good things because it is hot and I am in need of hydration.
Okay.
I am still drinking Diet Dr. Pepper as well because let's not be dumb. But
Lady has to
we're
have her
drinking lemonade.
standards.
What was that?
I said a lady has to have her standards.
I do, and lemonade and Diet Dr. Pepper, those are standards.
So we're going through the bipolar kind of schizophrenic weather where it's like 40 degrees in the morning, 80 during the day, and somehow 60 at night, where like the ladies are wearing sundresses, but also like winter parkas kind of weather. Yep. Or I'm not sure what the guy equivalent is because I wear jeans and a t-shirt and my sandals all year. So snow, whatever, I just get cold feet. I'm not the best example on male fashion, but yeah, the weather is nuts here too. So I feel your pain. What about you, Jason?
We dress in layers because the morning is cold, the afternoon is really hot.
What about you, Jason? What are you drinking?
For the most part, I am a coffee guy at this point, although I will indulge in Earl Grey tea from time to time. And of course, being from the South, I have to have my sweet tea as well. So it's a mix, but predominantly I'm drinking coffee most of the day.
Now, when you drink your Earl Grey, do you say Earl Grey hot and then stick your pinky in the air when you drink it?
No. I don't do that. I don't have a delicate teacup for that. I've got one of the Falscraft's Enterprise Steins that I use for that. So I got me a heavy mug. I gotta use all my fingers to hold it. So.
Yeah, but it also doubles as a home defense weapon. So there's that.
It does. Yes. Fortunately, I haven't had to use it that way yet.
Or I mean, if you did, would you tell us? Or would you just quietly bury the body in the backyard and just be like, I don't know why, fertilizer's just really good this time of year.
The body. Just remember, the body has to be buried vertically. Makes it harder to find.
All right, that's good to know. Writing that down. Ironically, There's an author that's just going on trial right now because she murdered her husband and then made a career writing books about the tragic death. So
she wrote about grief. It was a child's book, and she was just found guilty on all charges.
There's another
charges, and there's
another out of, I want to say it's Oregon or Washington State, a female mystery writer that got caught because she used how she murdered her husband as a plot in a later book, and one of the detectives happened to read it. So yeah.
Never write down your crimes, man.
Right? I mean, I've watched enough Murder, She Wrote. I know what not to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm practically an expert. And I'm sure everyone sitting in jail thought so too before they went to jail.
Mm-hmm.
I could have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
All right,
getting another reboot. By the way, you guys saw that they've announced the cast for the new Scooby-Doo, and they
another
actually
Scooby-Doo
characters.
Is it Scooby-Doo cartoon or is it Scooby-Doo live action?
Live action. McKenna Grace is going to play Daphne. And you remember the names of the other people? I didn't recognize them, but we're not race swapping, we're not gender swapping. So I guess it's a step in the right direction. We'll see. But it's another unnecessary reboot, no matter what.
Okay, but who's playing Scooby? Because that's the important question.
Oh,
AI.
It'll be Frank Welker, of course. It's always Frank Welker. It'll be Frank Welker until he dies, and then they'll AI his voice, and it'll still be Frank Welker.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like Optimus Prime is always played by Peter Cullen.
That's right.
At all times.
That was actually a thing when one of the Star Wars came out, where the that one guy's visage was used after he died, and it became an issue about like, do you own your property if you're in that movie?
Yeah, General Tarkin.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do that with voices now that AI can replicate things.
Well, they have made it.
I said it wrong.
They did make a deal with James Earl Jones before he died to do that very thing, and they'll be compensating his estate anytime they put his voice in on Darth Vader. It will be AI generated in some way. I think it's and I can't remember the name of the program they're using. It was developed out of an outfit in the Ukraine, if I remember right, but I can't remember the name of the company. It's a certain particular app, and they're using that one for his voice. They're also using it to de-age Mark Hamill's voice whenever we have a young Luke Skywalker on Mandalorian and such. But yeah, it's going to be a big thing. We get that movie that's coming out with AI Val Kilmer.
Yep.
That's coming soon with the family's blessing. He was already involved in it before he got cancer. And his daughter has basically said, oh, yeah, he would be all over this. He was all about new technology and innovation and stuff. And so they've given the project their blessing to finish it and put AI Val Kilmer in. So, yeah, we're going to start seeing that a lot. So scary stuff. You got to be in control of your own stuff. Sam Witwer has been very big advocating for actors to go in and get themselves scanned every couple of years. So if you're an actor, you go in and get your 3D scan. And so when everybody in studio comes in and says, okay, well, we're going to CGI your model. Well, here's the data. It's going to cost you this much for the rights for this amount of time. And I still own it because it's me. It's my face. And you're going to be talking about copyright issues and trademark issues, all sorts of things that still have to be figured out. But Sam Witwer is really big on actors owning their own scan data instead of the studios doing it, because then the studios could do whatever they want with it. They could put you in whatever project that they don't have to pay you.
Interesting. We learn something new every day.
I am a font of information.
Oh, yeah.
Some of it's even useful, and we're going to rock on.
Here I be.
Yes.
All right. So, Stabby, what are you drinking right? Oh, she stepped out. All right. JT, what are you drinking right now?
Right now is gin and Sprite.
With shades of coffee, I'm sure.
Yeah, with the coffee thing. Now, when I'm watching a reboot, it's a balance between coffee and brandy, and how good the reboot is going to determine which one is more in the cup.
There you go.
All right. What about you, Nick? What are you drinking now that you're on your health kick and you can't have so much caffeine?
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Woo!
Because we're having a little heat wave here in California, and to tell you about men's fashion, especially in Southern California, and when I lived in South Texas, I was always rocking board shorts and a t-shirt. And if it got a little chilly, I would just throw a hoodie on. So it'd be board shorts and a hoodie. But right now we're drinking anything that's cold. Like we got it like a gallon of Gatorade in the fridge and Diet Dr. Pepper.
Okay. And Stabby, now that you're back, I'm sure you just topped off your beautiful beverage cups.
Diet Dr. Pepper, water. There's Gatorade and iced tea in the fridge, but I do have my 1 cup of coffee in the morning, so I have my caffeine. But it's 92 in San Diego, which if you know San Diego weather, that's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. It is so hot out here right now. My AC is working double time. My fans are working double time. So we're avoiding the hot coffee as much as possible. I am making a lot of sun tea because it's hot enough outside to do so, but we're going through Diet Dr. Pepper pretty quick right now.
I've been doing a lot of my own iced coffee. And I make it in advance, so I don't have to actually add ice cubes to it. I just stick it in the fridge and let the fridge do the cooling. But when I do add ice cubes, if I'm in a rush, I keep some frozen coffee in an ice tray, old-fashioned like, and I have coffee ice cubes in my iced coffee, so it never gets watered down. But I am limiting myself because I'm counting calories and trying to get fit again. Apparently, people don't want you to die of a heart attack before you finish the 12 billion novels you owe them. So you got to do things like, drink water and whatnot. But speaking of awesomeness, we are going to pause for a moment while we shamelessly shill for the woman. And then we're going to talk about all the cool reboots that we've been hitting at. So let's play that beautiful bean footage.
What lurks beneath the waves? Krakens, sea serpents, megalodons, spirits of storm and tide. In tentacles and tide, the ocean is anything but empty. Sailors glimpse impossible shapes below their hulls. Coastal towns bargain with ancient powers. Great whales guard secrets humanity was never meant to find. And sometimes, the monster is the one telling the story. These speculative tales explore the creatures of the deep as heroes, villains, and guardians, and forces of nature where survival, awe, and terror swim side by side. The sea is vast, the sea is powerful, and something beneath the surface is always watching.
All right, thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. I recognize that voice, but you said Krakens weirdly. It must be a Utone thing. Utah.
It probably is.
How do you say it if you're from Utah? Is it Utonian, Utonian? How's that go?
We're Utahns.
Utahns. There you go. I'll get that right one day.
Yeah.
I mean, this is only your second year on the podcast, and I still haven't got it right. So maybe next year.
That's something like that.
All right. So with that out of the way, obviously we are here, dear listener, to talk about reboots. But before we do that, Jana showed through the Audible flag on the pre-show. So do you want to give that spiel for us real quick?
Well, the one thing I wanted to point out, because we're saying we're talking about reboots, but then as we've been having discussions, a lot of what we're talking about are not reboots. They're continuations. They're something happening in the same universe as a property that we love, and maybe they're the same characters, but it's 10 years later, or it's an animated version that would be a season 2. A reboot, most of the time, is where we actually start from the beginning and we play over again. Dune, as Nick brought up, is a really good example. They've rebooted that at least 3 times that I can think of, and it might be 4, because they did it in the 1980s, and then they did it again as a miniseries, and then they did it again as another miniseries, I think, and now it's out in the movies. And every time they're going back to the beginning, same characters, but it's completely reimagined. How they present it is different, all those kinds of things. But they're telling the familiar Dune story. That's very different than saying, well, the Buffy reboot, which now we're finding out was canceled, but that wasn't a reboot either. That was after the events of Buffy, here comes something new. The original Buffy was more of a reboot because we had the events of the movie, and there was kind of a crossover there as they were reestablishing who Buffy was. So I'm just going to throw that out there, that some of the things we're talking about are true reboots. Some of them are probably more continuations. It's something happening in the same universe, but it's not a reboot. I will get the technicality before our listeners do.
Well, and as far as the Buffy thing goes, the word is that Joss hated the movie and how much they had changed it in production so much that the movie and the TV series don't have anything to do with each other crossover wise or anything. He's basically just said, okay, we're starting over, and it's a true reboot of the entire thing.
Yeah.
I like the movie. I like Paul Rubin's death scene. Pretty much, it's best part of that whole thing. But I thought Christy Swanson did a great job with the character. So, but that's just me.
I think colloquially, though, I think the populace writ large, who's not in the know on all the technicalities, generically calls anytime you bring something back a reboot, even if it's, round two, different characters, different timeline, different section of the universe. But technically, you are right. For it to be a reboot, you would have to pretend the original didn't happen and not build off of it.
Yeah, because they are very different when we talk about these properties. If it's something that's happening, same characters, but 10 years later, or it's the next generation. With Star Trek, those are not each reboots. They're different timelines, different characters, but it's the same universe. So there is a difference. And I don't know that colloquially anybody would even say that all the different Star Treks are reboots, but they do happen in the same universe.
Well, one of the ones that came up in our previous show that will actually air after this one. So if you hear that later episode where we talked about it, the MASH reboot, they were going to completely redo the entire series. Everyone was up in arms on it on Twitter talking about it. It was a hoax. Somebody made some really good AI spoof to make it look like, the pre-release type stuff that you would see for the marketing packet, but it wasn't real. So if you hear that episode later, obviously we recorded that before this one. And in prepping for this, I realized the MASH show is not happening. Although I don't know that you could, that's a moment in time culturally. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you couldn't. How would you even do that? I mean, from a cultural standpoint, generationally, there aren't that many people left who even have any kind of context for the Korean War that would understand what MASH even was.
Yes.
I mean, if you updated, I guess, see, when China Beach came out, a lot of people looked at that as a Vietnam era MASH. So I guess you could do some kind of a MASH show in the Middle East, during the Iraq War, during the other.
That's the only way you could equate it.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to update it for whatever time period you're in, because you would not be able to do the Korean War again, because nobody remembers it. Everybody who's 25 and younger, it never even happened.
So they did have some follow the MASH type docudrama series that tried to do that, about set against the backdrop of the Iraq War. But they tried because, modern audiences want gritty, but then you see what real gritty looks like in a combat zone on a medical unit. And it was more than most people could handle. Whereas with MASH, because of the censors at the time, like we just accepted, we're not seeing the blood and the gore and the reality of war. We're getting, a pastiche over it or around it. I don't know that people are ready, to be honest, for a full modern retelling of what that would look like.
Well, and they were telling a different kind of story in MASH too, with that background, and so, but it does bring up an interesting question, because a lot of the properties that we talk about rebooting, some work because there's an evergreen sense to them that you can go and kind of do that start over and carry the themes, the characters and stuff across. And some of them, I really don't know how you would reboot them without losing a lot of what made them work, especially when it is something that's such a cultural cornerstone. Because we've mentioned a whole lot of science fiction and fantasy and that kind of thing, because those reboot pretty easily because they were pretend to begin with. But I think sometimes the closer you come, the harder it is to do that.
Well, and I think go ahead, Jay.
I was going to say, one of the other things that gets a lot of the older stuff when you're talking about like the Korea, Korea is they call it the Forgotten War for a reason. So outside of MASH, most people don't have the cultural understanding of it that people do of World War II, even though it's farther back. Yeah. But what made some of those iconic World War II properties pop so much is the people that were acting in them were there. And in some cases, some of the most iconic German officers in fiction were played by, Jewish American soldiers who, had every reason to hate the character they were playing. I don't know if you can recapture that with modern acting, even if you get combat veterans, because the culture is so different now. If we tried to write, like I would write a GWAT era combat tale, how we were, and we try to just transplant that to World War II, it just wouldn't work.
Right.
Well, I think the kind of stories that MASH was telling weren't war stories so much as they were character dramas, character dramedy, I guess you could call them now, set in a war setting. I'm in the process right now. I'm reading through Mark Cushman's behind the scenes books on Star Trek called These Are the Voyages, and I'm in the season 1 book, and there are a lot of memos that go back and forth from Gene Roddenberry to the various different writers, reinforcing and reminding them we're not telling a science fiction story with the spaceships and the zap guns and the monsters. We're telling human stories, dramas set in a science fiction setting. So he kept trying to dial the writers back from focusing so much on the science fiction aspect of it that you lose the character aspect of it. I think MASH was the same way. Whereas if you did something new that would be the blood and the guts and the gore, that wouldn't work, like you said, because it's too real and it puts the focus on the wrong thing. It puts the focus on the setting and the environment and not the people that were there. And MASH did a really good job of character stories that were set in Korea during the war, not war stories at a MASH unit with these people. The focus was on the characters and not the setting.
Right. It seems like the war was just the set dressing.
Yeah, but they had some powerful scenes. They had some powerful scenes within that, like when that colonel, the old timer that ran the thing, talking about being a doughboy in World War I, and showing the picture of the younger version of him in that uniform, and talking about that kind of resonated because it was hitting on the cultural understanding of the wars, even if it wasn't a war story.
Yeah, they definitely brought that setting and everything through in a really wonderful way. But anyway, what's our next thing?
So one of the other ones, go ahead. Someone was speaking.
It was me. Keep going.
One of the other ones that supposedly they were going to do, and we talked a little bit about it with the Buffy universe, they were calling it a reboot, but as Jana points out, it's a continuation of what happened after, was it Riverdale High School?
Sunnydale.
Sunnydale, there we go. There was a Dale in there somewhere. When the high school got sucked into the vortex of, suck, the story ends at the end of the last season. Well, this would have been the Buffy character as a mentor to the next generation. It was supposed to happen. But that recently was announced that it's not gonna, that's dead on the water.
Well, there was an attempt to reboot about what I want to say about 5 years ago. They announced because they were going to have a Black Buffy, and it was going to be a complete new race swapped reboot that started the story over again. And there was a big hue and cry, and of course COVID hit and blew everything out of the water. So that never moved forward past the announcement that it was in development. But that they've made this attempt a couple of times before this one that Hulu just spiked.
That is so lazy when they do that. Like, oh, we got this fan loved franchise. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to reboot it. We're going to switch either the gender or the ethnicity of the character. And then we're going to take it from Sunnydale and we're going to put it in someplace it doesn't belong. It's lazy. It's like, come up with your own stuff. Quit ripping off Gen X.
But doesn't it work sometimes? Because I did find the Battlestar Galactica reboot interesting when they changed up the way that Starbuck worked, because it created different backstories than what we got with the, going from the buddy cop to the potential romance, changed some things. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't love all of the reboot, because there's a point where they lose their way and they become a very, very space opera and they lose their plot. But before they lose that entirely, there's a lot of really good stuff there. And there is a place where they didn't just make it a girl for kicks and giggles. She earns her stripes. There's interesting things that happen there. So I don't know that it's always something you shouldn't do, but is it tokenism, or are we doing it just to, again, what we said before, for the money grab, or do we
There's a
really
lot of
have an
questions there.
interesting idea as to where we can take it and why we would do it this way?
Well, like with Battlestar, you guys rack it up there with it's the exception, not the rule.
Agreed.
So,
Good taste.
like, they did a really good job. But if you tried to reboot, say you wanted to reboot the Star Wars saga, from scratch, starting with A New Hope, it's probably not going to go very far. And they're going to make a lot of changes that nobody's going to really like, especially people like me and some of y'all that are fans, that have been fans since the beginning, that we're still alive. So you're going to have to wait till we're long and dead. And our grandchildren are long and dead, because we keep introducing them to our kids and to our grandkids, and hopefully they introduce it to their kids. It's a generational franchise that should never be messed with. You can add to it, like The Mandalorian, Andor, Shadow Lord, whatever, Clone Wars. Those are all things you can add to it. But I think if you ever try to reboot something as iconic and cultural.
Well, and I
like
think
Star
what
Wars.
makes the Battlestar Galactica reboot works is the fact that they were not trying to remake the original show beat for beat.
Right.
It was, here's the concept. You have the colony worlds. The names were there, but everything else was different enough that it was its own thing. And you had had a wink and a nod to the original series in a couple of places. The original Cylon showed up, the original Cylon ships were there for a little bit in the miniseries, but concept wise, they completely reimagined everything in a different context that was less, Mormon religion theology based, and a little bit more dark, gritty, realistic military, what would actually be happening.
Wait. Battlestar Galactica was based on Mormon theology? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
There's a bunch of it in there. It's not all along the line, but that they pick and choose things.
There's another, that the White Crystal Palace is totally it. All of that is Mormon theology from
Dune wasn't even trying to hide it. The Orange Catholic Bible, that was pretty on the nose.
Yeah.
So with the Battlestar Galactica, I don't remember the original. I've seen parts of it, but not recently. But in the reboot, there was all about the kind of Greco-Roman religion from antiquity, so Zeus and all of that. So I never associated that with modern religions.
Yeah, you had a little bit of that, but Glenn Larson was I can't remember if he's still alive or not. I think he's dead, but he was a Mormon and took a lot of the teachings there and incorporated them into Galactica. The 12 tribes, the lost 13th tribe, the big, like I said, the Crystal Palace spaceship and all of that. But like Jana said, the moment where the reboot lost its way was at the time jump when they were on occupied New Cobol or Caprica or wherever.
Yes, New Caprica.
Past that, the show went completely off the rails. And by the time you get to where everybody is quoting Bob Dylan, it's like, what are we doing here? And then you hear, they do a needle drop and you hear Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower, which the final 5 have been quoting. There's got to be some way out of here, said the Joker to the other. No, wait, what? What are you doing? No, hold it. So by the time we get to Earth and Starbucks and Angel and Earth is we're in prehistoric Earth and, mitochondria Eve and just stop. Ron, you lost the plot. And
the Vipers are still cool no matter what movie you put them in.
Vipers are still cool, yeah. So
and the first season was really well put together. It just got really bizarre. Like you say, after New Caprica, it was like, oh man.
Well, and what happened there was 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
I think 9/11 had a big impact on where they took that show, because at that compound, you now had some of the colonials were the rebels, and you had the terrorist cells and that kind of thing that were kicking off fighting against the the Cylon occupiers, all that, and some of those stories got a little bit too on the nose with regard to post 9/11 and the war on terror. So I think if 9/11 had not happened, who knows what that show would have looked like. And I think there was a writer's strike in there somewhere.
I think you're right. And it's always hard with television that way, because season to season they very often don't know if they're going to have another season. And so we see that in a lot of television series where they'll start wandering because it's like, well, have we closed our arc? And then, oh, wait, we're going to get, I'm thinking now Supernatural, which is a show that I don't know that you could reboot it, but it's one of those that makes me sad in this way, because the first 5 seasons is this really, really tight arc. And to me, it feels like season 6 and on is actually a reboot of the first 5 seasons, because it was told in this really, really tight arc. They got their just desserts, everything kind of tied together. And then the fans went, no, we can't let it go. And so you really, and I think this happens in some others that go on and on and on, is you get these kind of reboots that happen within a longer series, because they're like, oh, well, we can't let people settle and be happy or have this kind of that because they just came and threw more money at us. So we need another reboot within the long series.
Yeah, ask Pierce Brosnan about surprise season renewals.
Oh, yeah. Remington Steele.
Yeah. Oh, you want
There's
to be
another good
Bond?
property.
I'm sorry. You can't do that.
So one of the other things that I near and dear to my heart, because I'm a huge I'm a huge Stargate fan. So looks like they are going to be revisiting the SG-1, Stargate SG-1. Whether it's a reboot, because they haven't given us a lot of details, or just continuation of the story after the Ori were defeated, I don't know.
It is a continuation. Martin Garrow has done a number of interviews over at Gate World and other places. Justin Malazzi's involved, Brad Wright's involved, and they have all confirmed that this is a continuation. They are going to pick up in this amount of time jump. And outside of that, we don't really have any details. They did say that they're hoping to bring some people back in some capacity, but we don't have names. We don't have plots. I know the writer's room is right now assembled in Los Angeles, so they're breaking stories now, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, well, fingers crossed that they don't mess it up. But if the original crew is involved, I tend to have high hopes. So, all right. So, JT, you had something?
Yeah, talking about original crew, we've got another continuation coming up. They made the announcement this past Sunday for Firefly.
Oh, that's right. It was the I don't know, cartoon anime. I don't know how they're going to classify it.
The animated one. I don't know if it's technically considered anime if it's American.
It is not.
Right. That's what I thought.
And it's not quite anime style, but it is very stylized. At least
Yes.
from the little we've seen. We
Right.
don't actually know. We've just seen some. That this is our idea. Stills kind of stills. But the thing is,
Proof of concept.
I did enjoy the little teaser that they did with the script where they showed the front page and its title was Season 2, Episode 1. That was very cleverly done.
And Nathan Fillion leaned into the nostalgia, because the actors themselves have been pushing for this for years.
Yeah.
Because the actors loved the property, even the character that can't come back because they killed him.
mm-hmm.
Too soon.
Well, that's why they're doing. That's why they're doing the animated series between the show and the movie.
See, the question I've got, though, is
Yeah.
I'm wondering how they're going to deal with some of the elements, if they're going to put it beyond the end of the comic books and the graphic novels, or if it's going to be somewhere in there in the middle.
I haven't seen any mention of the comic books or any of the graphic novel work. It's just Nathan. I can't remember who he was talking to. Said we're going to go between the show
Right.
and the movie. He said after the movie we don't have any interest in doing that because not everybody is there.
Right.
He said I didn't want to do it without Alan, and the only hiccup right now is they've got a recast book.
Yeah,
So-
well, unless they do AI, because in the movie he's gone. So if they send him off kind of early to help establish the colony that he was on in the movie, then they're done with him.
All right, so I got one that's either to move on because we can't dwell on all of them because a lot of these would deserve their own full episode by themselves. But I've got one that's either going to ruin Nick's day, make Nick's day, or ruin his night, and I'm not sure. Are you ready for this, Nick? Have you taken your heart attack medicine?
I took my pill at noon.
All right, they are diving back into the Blade Runner universe. They're going to call it Blade Runner 2099, and it's taking place 50 years after, obviously, Blade Runner 2049. Continuing with Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. And it's looks like Amazon has optioned the rights, but we all know that doesn't mean anything will go into production. But they are going for live action. It is not going to be a cartoon or animated or any of that. But they're going back into the Blade Runner universe.
Oh yeah, this is that one with Michelle Yeoh and Hunter Schafer.
Yes.
Yeah.
I enjoyed 2049, so.
Although you get this,
Yeah.
there's the funny memes that came out of the Blade Runner universe. It said, "What radicalized you, young man?" And it's like you did, and it's a picture of a screen grab from Blade Runner where the gas was like $1 something, and that was supposed to be the post-apoc end of the world horrible gas prices from the original Blade Runner movie.
That movie was made, gas was like 60, 70 cents.
Yeah, I know. And I'm just like, can we have that like apocalyptic gas price right now?
Heavens, yes.
But yeah, so Blade Runner, they are diving back into the Blade Runner universe. And it could, based on who's involved, it could go really, really well, or it could make us want to rip what little hair we have left out of our head.
It's going to be one or the other.
I don't see any middle ground on this one.
No.
We won't dive too deeply into the He-Man because they are getting I don't know if it's going to, it has to be a reboot because they're ignoring a lot of the canon. And
Yeah,
just
they're starting all over again.
Again?
Yeah,
again, because now it's kind of it's not quite Portal Fantasy, but they're scratching that itch, I think, to pull that audience of yes, he has been moved to Earth and then is going to come back, and so it looks to be a complete we're starting over again and we're
That sounds
changing
like
some of the established background.
That sounds like the Dolph Lundgren movie where he played He-Man and they brought him to Earth.
Yeah, I don't. We did a whole episode where we analyzed the trailer and voiced our hopes and dreams, but it's coming out in June, so we're going to come back and revisit it. Jason, you should come back when that movie comes out and join us for the movie review.
Sure.
Since we're mentioning it here, but yeah, that one is a legitimate reboot in the truest sense of the word. Stabby, you had something that I missed in my research?
Which one? Because I just put like 8 of them in the side chat. Which one? Power Rangers?
Yes, I didn't catch the other one because I was shocked at the Power Rangers.
Yes. So Disney Plus just announced a Power Rangers reboot from the original 90s cast.
Oh, boy.
Some of them may possibly come back and help train the new Power Rangers, but that's all they've announced so far.
Well, if they train the new Power Rangers, are they doing it as former Rangers? In which case, does that make it a reboot or a continuation?
You know how Disney is. They hold it tight to the chest until the last minute. Who knows? Those originals Rangers could come back and that would be a continuation. But if they don't come back, then it's a complete reboot.
All right. And you also mentioned the Powerpuff Girls, which I vaguely knew that was a thing, but it wasn't obviously a thing I watched. So any thoughts on that of anyone on the panel?
That's dead.
Oh, it's dead?
That's dead. They shot a pilot, CW. Chloe Bennett was one of the cast. Dove Cameron was another one, and it didn't go any further than that. It died a horrible, horrible death, as it should have, before the script was ever written.
Oh,
I'm glad. I liked the animated one as it stood.
Yeah, it was basically they'd all grown up and gotten really, really cynical about having been exploited as children's superheroes, and they didn't want to ever do it again. And then some disaster happens in their hometown, and they have to come back and reunite and use their powers again for good. And it was a very, very cynical, nihilistic look at them as grown-ups, and it was
sad.
It was bad. Yeah.
I hate.
I'm glad it died.
there is room to have heroic people and heroic events, and I hate the nihilism that's ruining everything and taking the aspirational stuff out of it. So she mentioned Baywatch is going to be a reboot, but given the nature of that show,
They're shooting it now.
It could just as
Will we
easily.
notice?
I mean, it could just as easily be a continuation because lifeguards at the beach are still a thing. So unless it's going to ensure that it was set in was it the 80s, which means the big poofy hair and all that, which would be interesting to see on the screen, Aquafina or.
It is a continuation because one of the characters is coming. One of the characters is back. Cody, David Chokatai or what? I don't know, but one of the actors from the original show is back as the same character he played back then. So technically, it's a continuation.
So one of the biggest characters from that show is very, very popular in Germany is David Hasselhoff.
Hasselhoff.
And I want you to know that the highlight of my career was the one day I was trending more because of my books were out than David Hasselhoff in Germany. That basically means I'm famous. Okay, so we have Seventh Heaven coming back. Stabby said, do we know anything about that one?
Haven't heard anything about this.
Hold on.
I mean, the concept of following a preacher's family for something wholesome. I think there's a time and a place. Certainly, you're seeing more with Angel Studios religious flicks. I don't know why you need to reboot that one. You couldn't just call it something new. Does the Seventh Heaven have a big enough fan base to justify it?
It was huge. Name recognition.
Yeah, it was huge at one time through the CW and the WB.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they're talking about doing Seventh Heaven, One Tree Hill, Friday Night Lights, and there was one more that they were talking about. Nothing's completely set in stone with that one yet, but they are talking about bringing it back to try to basically erase the original Seventh Heaven.
Well, and part of this is all about licensing, because we talk about it and we go, it'd be interesting to see a show like blah, but they already have the licensing for it. And so they can stick with, on a lot of these, it's cheaper to stick with the licensing you have and then get someone to come and write in that world versus saying, well, we're going to create brand new things and it'll all take new licensing and new everything else. So that is another interesting part of reboots is, when is it a fan demand? When is it something that the fans really want to see this redone or redone in a different way? And when is it a studio going, well, we have the license for this and we have X amount of money left this year?
Well, it's also the board and investors are very shy of new properties.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it says here, a Seventh Heaven reboot is in early development at CBS Studios, focusing on a new diverse family rather than a direct continuation of the Camden family. Original star Jessica Biel is executive producing via her Iron Ocean banner, with Anthony Sparks serving as the showrunner. No original cast members are expected to appear.
So one of
Beverly Mitchell also a producer on that one. I think now that you mentioned that, I seem to recall hearing about that one. And I wanted to say that Beverly Mitchell was also involved, but I can't remember that for sure.
Let's see what I got.
I could be wrong on that. It's been known to happen a few times. Because I know they've been doing a podcast. But I didn't know if anybody else. I couldn't remember if anybody else was involved in the thing.
Let's see what I can find.
So we also have one that they're rebooting that Stabby found for us outside of what I did. That was basically it was Jana's childhood. You might have heard of it, Little House on the Prairie.
Don't make me hurt you, JR.
You're always
I don't live on a prairie. I live in the mountains.
They have ordered
entirely different.
Above the prairie.
They've ordered
Above
a
the
second
prairie.
season. They've ordered a second season of that one. They're shooting it now.
Nice.
Which one?
Little House.
It's gonna be a second season. It's not gonna be a reboot.
Well, it is a reboot. I mean, it's a remake based on the books. But I want to say it's Netflix that's doing it. They're happy enough with it. They've announced a second season, so they're moving forward with it. Yeah,
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
As far as I can tell from the casting news, it sounds like they're being faithful to the books.
Oh,
That's good to hear.
Okay.
Then, as Mike LaVoice, often guest on the show, likes to rage about, we have a new Highlander coming with, and it looks like, as far as we know, it's a true remake going back to Connor McLeod and doing the whole Highlander thing with Henry Cavill.
Yes.
There could be only one. See, the problem with that is they ignored their own timeline. So they almost would have to reboot it because none of the movies, if you watch them sequentially, can be the same universe because they break their own rules.
Yeah, well, and then they
Someone
had
had
Duncan
aliens
MacLeod,
in
and they had the whole television show, which was actually quite good. So I'll be fascinated to see how that one reboots and if they leave it open or if they go back to that idea.
Yeah, I'm not as upset as he is about the reboot. I just cautiously optimistic. That's what we'll call it.
Who's going to play Ramirez?
I did like the flashbacks to the
Crowe.
history stuff.
Not know, but
Russell
that would
Crowe.
be cool.
It's Russell Crowe.
Is it Crow?
Oh.
Okay, nice.
I was hoping for another Scotsman.
That tracks.
You asked about Daniel Fishel, right?
Beverly Mitchell.
Beverly
Daniel
Mitchell.
Daniel Fishel was in Boy Meets World.
Yeah, I get my brain fog from time to time. I was going to say Daniel Fishel is actually doing a reboot of Wizards of Waverly Place.
I'm not familiar with that one.
That's
That was a Disney one.
That's a sequel series, and they're already into season 2. I think is where they're going. Season 3. Yeah.
Okay. Beverly Mitchell is not currently listed as a producer for the reboot.
Okay. Well, so just another one that Stabby found for us is The Bodyguard. Is that the one with Whitney Houston?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're remaking that? Okay. Is it going to be a musical again where there's the singing and the dancing, or is it just going to be a movie about a bodyguard? Like,
I mean, that's a story that particular story is almost a trope. So they could take that all sorts of directions, but the idea of the bodyguard that falls in love with the body they're guarding and then they can't actually be together, that's Casablanca. It's a trope story, so they could take that any number of directions if they really wanted to. I don't know if that'll be an actual remake of that original movie or if it's just another version of that story.
okay.
It's in works with Warner Brothers right now.
Okay. So we've got Bewitched coming back, which I liked that as a kid. I remember watching that on Nick at Night and the Nick repeats when they did the old shows. So I don't know. I'm afraid they're going to mess that one up. That was such a moment in time culturally, much like I Dream of Jeannie. I don't think that one needs to be updated.
Nope. Leave it alone.
Nope.
They are in development with Fox and Sony, written by Judalina Niera from The Boys.
No. I don't want to be written in that style.
And of course, because everyone needs another medical drama in their life, we've got Scrubs coming back.
Yeah, but that's a continuation,
Yes.
and that looks adorable.
My
I
wife
liked
has been
Scrubs in the
watching
first
it.
place.
She says it's like the show never went off the air.
See, I love that because that's what I would want out of that particular thing.
My wife was a nurse and she refuses to watch it because of the mockery it plays on the medical institutions.
Fair.
My mom was a nurse, and her favorite part of watching Grey's Anatomy was pointing out what they did wrong.
Yep.
Now I'm the same way.
It's like every military veteran or GWAT veteran when they watch movies that have to do with the GWAT.
Or guns in general. All right, so I got another one that's an actual proper reboot, not a continuation. They are redoing, bringing to the screen the Stephen King Dark Tower. It said it looks like Mike Flanagan, whoever that is involved in it, but they're going to be redoing the Dark Tower.
Flanagan just did a development deal based on, I guess everybody likes what he's doing with the Exorcist remake that he's working on right now. And I think the Dark Tower stuff probably comes out of that.
Okay. I'm not a huge horror or King fan, so I don't know. I don't have any strong feelings one way or another. What do you think, Nick?
If they do the Dark Tower and they do it right this time, I think it'd be quite entertaining because it was a good book. It's a kick-ass book too.
Yeah, that's a good portion of the end of it is because he didn't know where he was going and kind of wandered.
Pantsing.
Mm-hmm.
Just like
So another.
I think a certain white powder might have been involved as well.
Also
yeah, I
possible.
don't like Sober King.
Right.
So another one that Disney has announced, but because Stabby has said that Disney is close to the vest for all of it, they are going to revisit the Aragon property and bring it back, redoing it from the beginning with modern technology and storytelling. Modern technology, great. Modern storytelling, I don't know what that means, and it might not mean anything good.
Yeah, Christopher Polini is involved. He was posting about it on his page, but that's about. He said he has to play it close to the vest. There's a lot of things he's not allowed to talk about yet, but he is involved. Brandon Sanderson, they're doing a huge thing with the Cosmere and kind of fixing a lot of that kind of stuff, and he will be directly involved this time instead of some odd stuff that they did with the Wheel of Time, which is not part of the Cosmere, but the things he learned from there means that he's not letting the Cosmere go out of his grip in the way the Wheel of Time did.
Well,
The House of
I
Mouse
think
will
that I
snack your
saw.
neck.
I think I also saw that Paolinelli, or Paolini rather, has acknowledged that the first attempt with Aragorn kind of missed the mark. So maybe this next one is going to be a little bit closer to, faithful to the source material. Hard to tell
Okay.
these days, though.
Nice.
And then we've got one that's a British cult classic. We don't want to ignore our British listeners, but I've got no opinion on it, so we'll just run through it. Blake's Seven, which was a classic British cult series, sci-fi series from 78 to 81, is getting a reboot directed by Peter Hoare, Hoar, known for his work with Doctor Who and The Last of Us. And this is going to revive the low-budget space opera about rebels fighting a totalitarian federation. So basically every stereotype trope from sci-fi, it sounds like, but this one will be different, I'm sure. I know nothing about it other than that. Anybody got thoughts on that one, or you want to just move on?
Blake Seven is like you said, is a cult classic. It is revered by fans. There are a lot of people that have been talking about a possibility of a reboot, and everybody's like, don't touch it, just leave it alone. You can't, it's lightning in a bottle. There's been all sorts of speculation as to what a reboot of that would look like in the modern era. Not a whole lot of people are optimistic about it, so I wouldn't expect it to go very far if it actually goes past development. But I don't know very much about it, so I'm speculating.
We've got another one that's a reboot of a Japanese sci-fi anime manga thing called Astro Boy, which is being rebooted and then intended for American audiences instead of its original niche.
Astro Boy was awesome.
I don't know enough about it to have an opinion, just that it's out there. And then obviously we mentioned the Lord of the Rings. They're coming back to that well, but Jana doesn't like it, so she's going to tell them no.
Yes, because the universe listens to me when I tell them these things. Like that happens.
It could. You never know. But yeah, so lastly, I've got, anybody else got any they want to cover? Because I got some that aren't quite reboots, but they are conversions from one media to another. To wrap this out. So anybody got any other reboots that they've heard about? So
I'm
okay,
sure we can keep digging, but we're at the hour, so wrap us out.
So William Gibson's seminal cyberpunk novel Neuromancer is getting a movie. It has been announced by a studio. My computer froze, so I couldn't grab the name of the studio, but it looks like Neuromancer is coming to the big screen. So that looks like promising. And then consider Flebius, which is the first in Ian Banks' Culture series, which did pretty well as a book, is coming to Amazon as well. So those are sci-fi properties I'm aware of and enjoyed. And then James S.A. Corey, the duo that wrote The Expanse, their new series, The Captives War, is going to be getting a conversion to the big screen because everyone loved The Expanse so much that, the studio said, this guy's printing money. Let's make this happen. When I print money, though, people get really, really mad at me, and the secret involved. And
the Neuromancer project is Apple TV. It's going to be a series.
Okay, cool.
I'm glad for that because that's meaty enough, and it's a long enough property that getting it all in a movie, that is the difficulty with taking a lot of these books to movies, is that they need the space for it. So you either get the Dune thing of many, many movies, or you sometimes get it too compressed, and then we miss some of the joy of the books.
Yeah, and you have to leave some things because not everything that works translates. Like if you're not in the character's head, getting their internal monologue can sometimes be difficult. And if a story relies heavily on that, sometimes you lose the characterization.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, is there anything else anyone wants to cover before we wrap this puppy up? And then we're committing Jason to, we're going to force him back by hook or by crook when we review He-Man when it comes out this summer.
Okay. I will look forward to it.
All right, so then before we wrap this up, so Jason, I understand you hit a milestone with your podcast.
We are about to, yes. Monday the 23rd of March, our 17th anniversary. I've been doing this now since 2009 and questioning every bit of it. Then my live stream show, Live from the Bunker, also has the 12th anniversary that day. And we are just a little above 30 episodes until we get to number 1,000.
Okay,
so we're
outstanding.
Trucking along.
And then with that, this is the part, dear listener, where I remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right book, so do your part. It really does matter. And if you're engaging in common media, like what Jason is putting out on SciFi4Me or any of the other YouTube, Rumble, BitChute channels you follow that are making podcasts about various topics, obviously there's nowhere to rate and review on Amazon, but you can leave a comment and tweak the algorithm and share it with a friend, and that's just as helpful and does make a huge difference. If you like what people are doing, that's how you keep them doing it, because otherwise the day job comes and they make less of what you like for you. And that's all free, by the way, sharing and telling a friend. So with that, we're just going to go round robin. Jana, if we wanted to stalk you on the wild, wild interwebs, where might we find you?
You can find me over at Linktree, linktr.ee/Opal Kingdom Press. That's the easiest place to find the links to all the things. Otherwise, if you look for either of these pen names and they have to do with publishing, 99.98% of the time, they are me. I am the loser at Internet Hide and Go Seek, much to my children's disappointment, because my poor son, who's a security guy, is always, why are you everywhere? Because that's how I sell books, man.
Okay. Jana, Stabby, have you got your stuff yet? Your social media links for your new you? Or is it just the Stabby Stab Instagram, Twitter, and the email?
For now, we're sticking with the Stabby Stab Instagram, Twitter, and email. As soon as I figure out if I want to publish under Stabby's name or under a different name, I will let you know. But as of right now, those are the only ones I have.
So your last name for your pen name should be Stabbington.
Stabbington.
Yeah, I dig that. All right.
Keep that in mind.
We're going to come to you last, Jason, so that way people can check out your podcast and celebrate your anniversary with you, because this will air 2 days after your 17th anniversary. So, Nick, if we wanted to stalk you and buy your comics and keep Stabby happy and keep her in knives so she can stab you more, where might we find you?
You can find me in all the major social media platforms at Nick Garber Art on Facebook, the Instagram, the X, and you can find my company, Apogee Comics, at Apogee Comics on those platforms. And you can also visit the website, www.apogeecomics.com. And we'll have the chibis out probably in the next 2 months for purchase. If you guys want like obscure independent comic book characters sitting on your desk smiling at you.
So are you selling the actual printed copy, printed figurines, or the STL files?
Oh, no, I'm not selling the STL. Not yet. But guys like this right here, he'll be on there and his eyes glow.
Cool.
There's a Stabby one too, just so everybody knows. You can have Stabby on your desk.
But will you stab them? So there's a famous, or not famous, there is a STL printed little figurine that's going around right now that it's one of the Lord of the Rings characters, and he's a pen holder, so it looks like he's been shooten up by an arrow. Drawn a blank on the character's name. So are we going to get a version of that? Is it Boromir that gets shot up with arrows?
Yep.
Yeah, there's already one. There's a pencil holder, then it's all where he was shot with the arrows.
Yeah. So what we really need, I was mentioning that to say what we need is one of Nick kneeling doing that to everywhere you stab him. Like we could recreate that in Garber merch. But
with the technology they got right now, if I draw it, it can make it.
There we go. JT, where might we stalk you on the wild interwebs?
Usually in dark alleys and behind shady businesses, trading words for money. I've got Facebook. You can find me under my name, and Twitter. Also Gab. That's about it.
Okay. And then finally, you can find me at jrhandley.com and all the other cool places. But we'll just stick to that one because from there you can link anywhere. And we're going to focus on you, Jason. So if we wanted to stalk you and join the celebration of 17 freaking years, where might we go?
Well, I guess the first destination I would say would be SciFi4Me.com. And then for video, we're on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, and Twitch. We're on Substack, we're on Locals, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. MeWe Minds, we got a page on LinkedIn, Getter, Parler, Instagram, Gab. I think that's it.
All the places.
Pretty much all the places. We're not on Truth. We're not on Snapchat. We're not on TikTok. But yeah, pretty much everywhere. We also got a Discord. We've got a Subscribe Star. You know, there's various different ways that people can find us. You just do a search for Sci-Fi4Me. We're all over.
All right. And you can find us, dear listener, on our link tree. linktr.ee linktree/Blasters and Blaze podcast. Again, linktree/Blasters and Blaze podcast, where we're linked to all the things: the BitChute, the Rumble, the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitter. We've got our Spotify, our Substack, that's relatively new, our Discord, our Blasters and Blaze Facebook group and Facebook page. You can email us at blastersandblazepodcast@email.com. Again, blastersandblazepodcast@gmail.com. I realize I said email.com the first time, people. I know these things. For professional purposes only. Save the shenanigans from Madam Stabby Stab over there on the Instagram, the Twitter, and the email. She's getting kind of lonely, so send her the snark. Although when she makes you cry, film it so we can all point and laugh with you, not at you, with you. You can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section. It's for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee, brand coffee or tea or hot chocolate until they get high on their own supply. If you want some of that coffee, brand coffee, the link is in the show notes. The discount code is Podcast Grunts. You get 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. It's a win-win. Coffee.
Uh-oh. JR, you're dying. Go back and say that last part again.
Robo JR.
I blame the Canadians. Blame Canada. And yes, I realize all 12 of our listeners are going to hate me now. If you want to help keep the lights on, the Buy Me a Coffee really does make a difference. And with that, I would like to thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am the robot formerly known as J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blaze podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, but we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. All right, and just for the record, before we close out, one thing I forgot to mention when we talked about V is I would like to see more of lizard people as the alien of choice with skin suits, because that's just so iconic 80s and 90s. It's my childhood, and we should revisit it. And with that, I thank all of you for coming on. Jason, we're going to drag you back for the He-Man review. Nick, Stabby, welcome back to the land of the living. We're glad you could make it. We won't tell your boss you're playing hooky. Nope, not a word from us. And with that, we're going to hit the end button. Wait.